Dobrý den! Welcome to another exciting grammar video. Last week we discussed the words jako and jak, and today we are going to take a look at something similar. I am going to explain the difference between Jakoby and Jakoby, which sound exactly the same, but there is a slight difference. Did you know that many Czechs actually don't know the difference when to write Jakoby as two words and Jakoby as one word? Because they sound exactly the same. It's not difficult at all to understand when to write which form. Once you know the rule, I'm sure you will have no problem distinguishing these forms. So, today is the day you're going to find out the difference and then you will be smarter than some of the Czechs. Jdeme na to! Ahoj, vítejte na mém kanále Czech by Zuzka, kde vám pomocí angličtiny vysvětluju českou gramatiku. Let's take a look at these sentences, which are quite similar. Emma dělala, jakoby se nic nestalo. Emma dělala, jakoby nic. When you look at these two sentences, you can see that one is shorter, one is longer. One also contains jakoby as one word, and the other contains jakoby as two words. As I said, there is not really a difference. We don't pronounce it as Jakoby and Jakoby. It sounds exactly the same. The first sentence, Emma dělala, jakoby se nic nestalo, means Emma acted as if nothing happened. The second sentence means Emma acted as if nothing happened. Exactly the same. I'll leave you with this thought, and I'm pretty sure many of you already know the difference, and we will come back to these sentences in a few seconds. Alright, first we are going to take a look at jakoby as two words. You know that in Czech, when you use the form by or bych, bys, bychom, etc., it's part of the so-called conditional clause. By could be translated as would. Jakoby could be translated as if, as though, and many times also as like. So when we take a look at the first sentence I showed you earlier, Emma dělala, jakoby se nic nestalo. Literally, it would mean something like this. Emma acted like nothing would happen. Okay, again, literal translation is a terrible idea sometimes. Jakoby here works like or as if. Emma acted as if nothing happened. Emma acted like nothing happened. The important thing is, when you look at this sentence, that we have jako, by, and then we have the second part of the conditional clause, which is the verb in past tense, nestalo. Jakoby se nic nestalo. So the conditional clause is by se nestalo. It would not happen, or it wouldn't have happened. But of course, when we translate it separately like this, it means something completely different. When we put jako, it changes the meaning. It means as if nothing happened. Jakoby se nic nestalo. So the key here is, jakoby is written as two words when you have another verb after by, because by is part of the conditional clause. And also, you don't have to have jakoby only. You could have jakobych, as if I, jakobys, as if you, jakoby, as if he, she, jakobychom, as if we, jakobyste, as if you, and jakoby, as if they. So this makes a total sense. By has to be part of the conditional clause. That means there is by or bys or any other form referring to a certain person, plus the remaining part of the conditional clause, which would be a verb in past tense. Here's another example. Emma dělala, jakoby mě neznala. Notice also we say Emma dělala, which literally means she did as if she didn't know me. In Czech that works like Emma acted as if. Emma dělala, jakoby mě neznala. Here's another example. Chovala se, jakoby to ani nebyla ona. She acted, she behaved as if it wasn't even her. She was a totally different person. Chovala se, jakoby to ani nebyla ona. We could replace jakoby with jako kdyby, which also means as if, but it's not that common. It's much common to say jakoby. So imagine you say this to a friend, that you met Emma and she was acting so strange, and then your friend says, ale prosím tě, jako bys neznal Emu. Oh, come on, as if you didn't know Emma. She's always like this, she changes all the time. Jakobys neznal Emu. Notice that in the previous sentences, we have another clause before that, and then there is a comma, and then there is Jakoby, and then the verb. But you also can react to something that someone previously said, and it can start by Jakoby. So here is another example. Tváří se, jako by neuměl do 5 počítat. Let's leave Emma alone, and this is Vašek. Vašek se tváří, jako by neuměl do 5 počítat. This is an expression that we say about someone who looks innocent, or they look like they really don't know anything, but in fact they are really smart or they are a little tricky. So they look like a person they wouldn't even know how to count from 1 to 5, but in reality they will trick you and they will destroy you. Vašek se tváří, jako by neuměl do 5 počítat, literally means Vašek looks as if he didn't know how to count to 5. Another example. Mluvili o mně, jako bych tam ani nebyl. They talked about me as if I wasn't even there. Or you could also say they talked about me like I was not even there. So please take a look at these sentences again and notice that we have Jakoby plus the verb in past tense. Now it's time for our second part. Jakoby as one word. Jakoby is also translated as if, or it could also be translated as something like kinda. This word is used a little bit less, and it's also used sometimes more in informal Czech, kind of like a filler word. But first, in this part, I want to focus on the more proper Czech, where this word actually has a function, has a meaning. Let's take a look at that sentence I showed you at the beginning, the second one. Emma dělala jakoby nic, where Jakoby is written as one word. And what is the difference? You see, there is no comma, and also there is no verb after Jakoby. And again, it's as clear as day, or like we say in Czech, jednoduchý jak facka, as simple as a slap in the face. In Czech, when we have a verb, we usually separate it by commas. Each clause that has a verb is separated by a comma. There is no other verb in the second part, so why would we put a comma here? And also, since there is no verb, why would we leave by itself? Here it becomes part of Jakoby. Jakoby nic is in fact a very common expression, which means as if nothing happened, or someone can do something in a very effortless way. A udělal to jakoby nic, and he did it like nothing. It was like nothing for him. It was effortless. Jakoby, one word, can sometimes be replaced by Jako, which we saw last time when we have a comparison, but there is no verb after that. So let's take a look at more examples. Imagine that your friend lent you a sweatshirt and you keep it for a week. You were supposed to give it back and then you keep it for another week. It kind of feels like yours, right? So you could say, tahle mikina už je jakoby moje. This sweatshirt is kind of like mine now. Here, Jakoby could be translated as kind of, feels like mine. Next sentence. Cítila jsem se jakoby v jiném světě. I felt as if I was in a different world. Or I felt like I was in a different world. Jakoby is written as one word. There is no verb in past tense after that. They would go together with by, no comma. Here's another interesting sentence. Slyšel jsem hlasy jakoby z dálky. Maybe someone had a injury and then they woke up at a hospital and they hear the voices and it feels like they're coming from afar. So they could say slyšel jsem hlasy jakoby z dálky, which means I heard voices as if from afar, like they were coming from far away. Here we put a comma. It's additional information after I said that I heard voices. I'm describing what those voices were like. Another example. Je mi jakoby na zvracení. I feel like throwing up. You're describing what you feel like. Je mi jakoby na zvracení. Here you need to know that there is an expression být někomu na zvracení. This is an expression to feel like throwing up, to be for throwing up. Jakoby can also be expressed by jakoby in certain situations when you add a verb to it. Some of you might have already figured it out. Just take a look at those first two sentences I showed you at the beginning. So When we look at the same examples in this previous section I just showed you, you can express those with Jakoby as two words. When you add a verb, that would form conditional clause with by. Of course, sometimes it changes the meaning slightly because we have to come up with a verb that would work more or less. For example, in this sentence, it might not sound the best. Tahle mikina už je jakoby moje. Or we could say, tuhle mikinu nosím jakoby byla moje. I wear this sweatshirt as if it was mine, like it was mine. It's not exactly the same, but you can see the difference between jakoby and jakoby. Instead of cítila jsem se jakoby v jiném světě, you can say cítila jsem se, jako bych byla v jiném světě. I felt as if I was in a different world. Slyšel jsem hlasy jakoby z dálky. You can say slyšel jsem hlasy jakoby přicházeli z dálky. As if they were coming from afar. Je mi jakoby na zvracení, je mi špatně, jakoby se mi chtělo zvracet. I feel sick as if I wanted to throw up. Here is one function of jakoby, one word, which is overused by some people in Czech, usually the native speakers. Jakoby can be used as a filler word. In Czech there are several words that we use as filler words. Jakoby is one of those, and Jako, you might remember from last week. Jako as well. These words carry no information and some people use them too much. I remember when I was at high school, we had a classmate who used Jakoby a lot. He used it so often. And one time he had a presentation on a book he read. I don't remember the book. It was a novel, something serious. And then he was telling the plot. And we knew that he loved to use Jakoby. So we were marking how many times he used Jakoby in that presentation that lasted less than 10 minutes. I remember he used it 18 times. 18 times using Jakoby when it has no meaning. He used it in a sentence such as a on jakoby umřel. He kind of like died. This is something that you don't want to say. I know you can use this in English as well, but we have to be careful with these filler words. So people often say, máš čas? No, jakoby jo. Yeah, kinda. Here it has a meaning. You're saying that you might be a little busy, but you can find some time. But still, you could express it in a better way. Or someone could say, pak jsem tam jakoby zavolala a zeptala jsem se. And then I like called there and asked. Here it has no meaning, it has no place of being there. But you can still hear it and you might wonder why did they use it? Some people don't realize it and they overuse it. I also have certain words in Czech that I would use a lot and I don't want to use them, but I'm so used to them that I just put them there. I want to give you an example. Let's take a look at this book, Hobbit in Czech. It's a comic book. It's really cool. So we can take any sentence from here and use the filler word jakoby and make it sound redundant. For example, one of these dwarfs says, tamhle je světlo. There is a light. So they could say, tamhle je jakoby světlo. Oh, there is kind of like a light in there. So you get an idea how jakoby works as a filler word. Do not use it. Do not use jakoby as a filler word. Don't use jako as a filler word. But be aware of these words. No, teď jsme jakoby u konce. We're kind of like at the end. No, we're at the end. Jsme u konce. We are going to do a very simple exercise. I'm going to show you these 5 sentences and they are missing jakoby or jakoby. The English translation is included, so you get an idea what the sentences mean. Remember that maybe in some of the sentences you might need jakobys or jakobych, jakobychom if it refers to a different person and there is a verb in the conditional clause. Pause the video and we will check it right now. Číslo 1. Dělejte jakoby nic. Jakoby is one word because there is no verb after that. Číslo 2. Na chvíli jakobych znejistil. 2 words and also we need jakobych because we are saying I seemed uncertain. Notice we can also use I seemed or something seems like to translate these forms. Číslo 3. Čas tu plyne jakoby pomaleji. Jakoby is one word because there's no verb in past tense after that. Číslo 4. Tváříš se, jako by ti to tady patřilo. Jako by patřilo. This is the conditional clause, so we need to separate it and you also see there is a comma. Číslo 5. Babička běhá všude možně, jako by jí bylo 20. By bylo. This is the conditional clause. We need to separate jakoby. All clear? Let me know if you got all the sentences correct. So, this is all from me. If this video was overwhelming, I want to leave you with one thing that you can remember. The phrase jakoby nic. Jakoby nic. As if nothing happened. Když nerozumíte, dělejte jakoby nic. If you don't understand, act as if nothing happened. To je jakoby všechno? Ne, to je všechno. Thank you so much for watching, for liking the video, commenting, sharing. With all these little things that are not so little, you're helping my channel grow, you're supporting my work, and you're also helping other people to learn Czech. Mějte se krásně a na viděnou za týden.